Hello everyone, welcome to the Rex Trailer Boomtown studio. I'm TJ Horgan for Back Talk Sports. Alongside me is Dylan Volman. We have some March Madness bracketology talk for you today. We have Bruce Pearl coming on, longtime head coach and also expert analysis from ESPN right now. Dylan, we're going to start off with the West bracket. Who do you have in the Gonzaga versus Southern U game?
I have Gonzaga. I mean, that's a pretty standard matchup for me, 1 versus 16. It's to me, pretty easy matchup to decide. 16 has never beaten a 1.
True. Going
with Gonzaga there.
Definitely. I don't think there's much dispute there, at least from anybody who's paying for their brackets. Pittsburgh versus Wichita State, 8 seed versus 9 seed. This is a little bit of tougher game.
Well, obviously you got, a 1 seed difference. There's never an easy choice. The team is pretty much as good as the other. I have Pittsburgh in there. I believe Pittsburgh is a better team than Wichita State, coming from a bigger conference like the Big East, having a little bit more of experience playing bigger teams.
That's true. Pittsburgh definitely has more experience with the better teams, and they have beaten better teams. I think Pittsburgh was overseeded. I think they could have gotten the 6th or 7th seed in the West, but you never know. Next game, we have Wisconsin versus Ole Miss. This is the 5-12. A lot of people pick a 12 seed over a 5 because it has happened.
Now I think, to me, that in my mind, that's not the only thing that makes this matchup a hard factor to decide on. Wisconsin obviously been a very hot team, upsetting a team like Michigan this year. They're basically the Goliath of college basketball this year, kind of.
Exactly.
And then also you have 12 seed Ole Miss. Now they're an interesting story, very under the radar this season until they recently won the SEC championship, basketball SEC championship.
Yep.
So it's a tough matchup here. I got to go with Wisconsin, though, upsetting better teams this year.
That's true. And a thing to note, in 24 out of the past 27 years, there's been at least one 12-5 upset.
That's true.
What is your 5-12? You know what? We'll get to that later. We won't talk. We won't reveal those right now for upsets. But I also have Wisconsin beating Ole Miss. I think this is a pretty close. I think, and if you put Ole Miss over Wisconsin, you couldn't go wrong. You could get a good chance there. Next game, Kansas State versus Boise State or LaSalle. There is a playing game there. And right now we're trying to get Bruce Pearl on the line. So we'll come back to this. Bruce Pearl will be on with us. As I said, he was a head coach at Tennessee. Now he's on. Now he's an expert analytical ESPN.
Hello, Bruce.
Bruce Pearl, how are you? TJ Horgan and Dylan Volman from YBA.
TJ, how you doing?
Great. Thanks a lot for coming on, Coach.
Very happy to be here.
Now, I understand someone's the birthday boy. Someone had a birthday yesterday?
Yes, sir. Yesterday was my 53rd birthday.
Congratulations.
You're still young, Bruce.
Yeah.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so, Bruce,
All right, go ahead.
we're in the middle of talking about a matchup. Remember, the 4-seed Kansas State versus either Boise State or LaSalle University, a playing game right there. Who do you think will win that matchup?
Well, I like LaSalle in the matchup because they do a really good job of spraying the floor and creating difficult one-on-one matchups. Defensively, they guard the three-point line extremely well. They're athletic. I think they've got a toughness about them. And they're coming out of the Atlantic 10. And the Atlantic 10 this year looks like it's a conference that could produce some real surprising teams like a VCU, a St. Louis. And when Butler goes in that league and finishes 5th in the league, that tells you something about how strong the Atlantic 10 is. I like LaSalle.
All right, thanks, Coach. Now, you were a coach at Tennessee, and you also had Stanford, Iowa, Southern Indiana, Milwaukee. But now you're giving analysis for ESPN. What did you like better? Do you like being on the sideline coaching the games, or do you like being the guy in the studio?
Well, I like coaching better, but there's more to coaching than just coaching. Would I rather be calling a game or coaching in a game? No, I think I'd rather be coaching in a game. But there are other aspects of the profession like recruiting and I guess just recruiting that I definitely don't miss. I loved evaluating players. I really enjoyed watching summer ball and high school basketball and seeing if I could see something in a young man and where he might fit in and how he would fit in with other guys. I loved that. I just didn't love the chase of the recruiting aspect of it.
Coach, this term bracketology and picking for tournaments did not exist 20 years ago. What has made this cult so big that even the President of the United States is making picks nationally?
Well, it tells you that this is truly America's game. Dr. James Naismith invented this game right down the street from where you guys are calling from in Springfield, Massachusetts. And obviously it's taken on this March Madness is something very, very special.
Now, when analyzing the brackets and looking at a team like Kansas, who relies on their seniors, their older talent instead of their youth, would you bank on a team who has more experience, or would you bank on a faster, younger team?
Well, I think experience is something that I would look for. Guys that are hungry. This is their last year. They're going to play every possession like their life depended on it. For younger players, sometimes there's always next year. Well, I like guys that this is it, and this is their chance to have that one shining moment. And a lot of times teams that have been in the tournament before and maybe didn't advance like they wanted to. Those would be the teams that I'd be looking for.
Coach, this year with the #1 overall team in the country, there's been a lot of moving around and uncertainty. Do you think this is the year to pick for upsets in the brackets?
You're saying that as far as Louisville's concerned?
No. I'm just saying this year you've noticed a lot of teams have been upsetted when they're the #1 team in the country, so there's been a lot of uncertainty. Do you think this is the year of upsets in the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I do. I mean, when 22 of the top 22 times the top 5 team in the country lost to an unranked opponent, and that just tells you about the parity. I mean, unranked teams beating top 5 teams like that pace, that just doesn't happen every year. So I would anticipate there are going to be a number of upsets. There are going to be some difficult matchups. The differences between the haves and the have-nots have shrunk. And it's a very exciting time to be in the NCAA tournament if you've got a good basketball team, because there's nobody in this field that's unbeatable. I mean, last year Kentucky was unbeatable. They were unbeatable. And Kendall Marshall was healthy and Fab Melo played for Syracuse. Those two teams were going to get to the Final Four. But this year, it is absolutely wide open.
Now, Coach, you're saying that this is a year of sleepers. Do you have one specific sleeper in mind?
You think I'm going to give it up to you guys on the radio so everybody else can fill their bracket out, and my bracket's not going to win all the cash?
Come on, Coach, help me out here.
Sometimes I got to keep some of them secrets to myself.
Well, you are a BC grad, and Harvard, another Boston college in Boston, is taking on New Mexico in this tournament. Harvard's a 14-seeded team. Do you see them possibly giving New Mexico a run for their money?
Yeah, I think Harvard should give New Mexico a run for their money. I've been on the Mountain West Conference pretty hard, and they got 5 teams in, and I think that 5 teams are deserving. But the Mountain West has been complaining about their seeding for years, and all I can tell you is they're 5-28 against the Power 6 conferences in the NCAA tournament. So it's time for the Mountain West to take advantage of some really good seeding that they've earned this year and show up. A loss to Harvard would be an embarrassment for New Mexico because they're the 3 seed. And I think Steve Alford's club is really good. They run really good offense. They get to the foul line. They get high percentage stuff. They defend. It'll be a tough game for Harvard, but I think they can hang in there with them.
As a 2-time coach of the SEC Coach of the Year, if you had to give out a Coach of the Year award this year, who would you give it to and why?
That's a good question. I think I would give it to Andy Kennedy, and that's one of the reasons why I think you have the award when the year's over. But they always make you have those awards before the conference tournament, and you don't take into consideration a full body of work. I got no problem with Billy Donovan getting it because I think Billy Donovan really overachieved this year with this club. I don't think this Florida club is that talented. I think I was in the league with Billy for 6 years, and there are 4 or 5 teams who are more talented than this group. But this group plays great defense, and that's how they've won so many games. But I think they struggled to score, and they've struggled to win close games. And so, for me, I'd give it to Billy Donovan during the regular season, and I'd give it to Andy Kennedy in the postseason.
Coach, the NCAA tournament, while most people consider it a great tournament, has proven to have its flaws. Do you think there's any room for improvement in it?
Any room for improvement in the tournament?
Yes.
I like the tournament. I'd love to see them go to 96 teams, and I'd like to see them have 32 byes, and that the rest of the 64 teams play one time and get it down to 64. I think we're leaving too many teams out. I mean, when Virginia has 6 top 50 wins, when Maryland beats Duke twice, Tennessee was a very good basketball team this year. I just think, Alabama finished 3rd or 4th in the SEC. Iowa finished 9-9 in the Big Ten. I would like to see, and there were a lot of conference champions this year that got upset in their conference tournament championship. I'd like to see some more of those teams in the field, and that would be the way to improve it.
Now, Coach, what is your most interesting March Madness story, either from when you were coaching or right now, something you've noticed? Do you have an interesting story for us?
Well, I think for me, when I was a student at Boston College and I was a student assistant for Dr. Tom Davis, I could just tell you the magic that we felt as a university when Dr. Tom Davis was taking us to the Sweet 16 and to the Elite Eight, and we're playing against, back again, Hakeem Olajuwon and Larry Michaud and Clyde Drexler. That's how old I am and how far back I go. But very, very special moments as a student, taking the bus to Bloomington, Indiana, the year that Isaiah Thomas and Bob Knight won that, and being in the same regional with those guys. So very special memories as a student. And then as a coach, I just think that, the responsibility that I felt to get my student athletes to the tournament so that each group could experience that. You're playing for national championship. I don't care if you're in the first round or the Final Four. You're playing to win it all. And, really special. And then, there were many, many great wins, obviously, for us at University of Wisconsin, Milwaukee. We got to the Sweet 16 and, beat Alabama, beat Boston College. That was pretty special. And then at the University of Tennessee, we were 3 or 4 seconds away from getting to the Final Four against Michigan State. And we were in St. Louis, and there were about 18,000 people in the building, and 14,000 of them were wearing orange, rooting for the Tennessee Vols.
Coach, before you coached Tennessee in the NCAA tournament and in the SEC, you coached Southern Indiana University in Division II. What was it like taking that big step to Division I, big-time college basketball?
Well, I'll tell you what, the biggest difference from going from Division II to Division I was not the coaching. There were great coaches at the Division II level. I mean, you look at, John Beeline right now came from Division II. Bo Ryan came from Division I. Bob Huggins was a Division III guy. I was in Division II. There are a lot of great coaches at that, so it was not an adjustment there. The biggest adjustment was probably in recruiting, and the biggest adjustment was probably in just the speed of the game, and the physicality of the game. I mean, the practices are, you just got to hold your breath and hope those guys don't kill each other. Because that's how physical and how tough practices can be.
Well, thanks a lot for your time, Coach. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Hey,
Thank you very
job,
much.
Guys. And listen, if I hesitated sometime, it was just because I was having a hard time hearing you on my cell phone. That was entirely my fault.
Oh, don't worry about it. Thank you very much, and happy birthday.
Thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
All right, we'll be right back. We have some more interviews for you.